Hey guys, this is Leo to review. This is the second video of the Pro Player Scouting series. What we're going to be doing today is looking over an entire region of players that you don't know anything about. This will be pretty common when it comes to trying to catch up with like the entire outlook of various leagues. So whether it's the LVP, LFL, you're looking at the PCS, you're looking at, the LJL, like regardless of whatever region you're trying to understand, if you're new to it, which does happen, like for instance, last year was the first year where I did a full regional download of like all ERL like teams. And now of course I know like players beforehand, but like getting like straight into like who do I actually have interest in going into the season was a big help, because that is going to be your like your foundation, your starting base. And of course, if you miss someone or you're watching someone and then suddenly you gain interest of them, that's fine. But having that first outlook can be really beneficial towards like keeping you focused, right? So let's start with it. So I'm going to be looking over the LVP SL, the second division, okay? I'm not choosing a first division, mostly because, well, I kind of remember like a good portion of all the guys there. What I more wanted to just focus on was one where I don't think I watched the second division of the LVP that much, and I don't think I really dig too much into the players either, because the second divisions don't always have the the best players, and there's definitely only a few players that even rise up from it still. But you can find some gems, just like how you could find some gems in amateur for North America. I mean, you can obviously find gems in LFL second division, like Adusto, who got promoted to Unicorns of Love Sexy Edition. Sexy Editions. Actually, it might be called Sexy Edition. I don't remember. The German team, right? So there's definitely like interest from like select players like promoting. And in this case, this can be very useful. And of course, again, this is like if you have time on your hands to do this. So let's get into it. So the first thing you want to do is you're gonna do one roll at a time. Okay, you're not gonna do a ton. Like, don't try to do it by team, because I feel like that's just a pain in the ass. Just do it one roll. So if we want to start with top lane, jungle, whatever, and we're gonna use the basics that I taught in the first video of this series and apply that to each player. Like I said, this is going to be a little time consuming, but when you're done, it will be very helpful for you going into the season start. So let's start with this. We got top laners, right? So the easiest thing to do is to literally just left click, right? Control left click, open them all up, and you can look at each player, okay? Now, the first thing you're going to have to decide on is what are you looking for? What is your goal? Like when checking out these players, like, are you actively trying to find some gemmed like veteran players that have fallen from like the first division to the second division, and maybe you kind of curious like, oh, are they actually doing well, and maybe I want to like bring them back up? Or are you mostly just curious on the prospects, which in that case, if you are just curious on prospects, you will definitely be putting a lot more emphasis on the age and team history part. As you watch someone like this, it's like, okay, so they've been playing on these various ERL teams to I don't even know what to start, like LFL Division 2, right? So LFL Division 2, like you can open this up to see more. So open Tour France, LFL. So he had a shot at LFL and he went 2-12 with that squad. And it looks like Kikis would probably be playing over him anyways, right? So he was probably just a sub. And then it's a second division, like some tournaments. Basically, he hasn't really gone anywhere, right? Like this is like the first thing I see that's like, oh shit, okay. So it's like an in between Division 2 and first division ERL, right? Like, okay, 6 and 8, maybe that was okay, right? And his team was okay. His team was okay. Okay, so team history wise, not the best. You look at his solo queue, because this part here and this part here, if these two aren't aligning too well, then you're gonna look at these to see like, okay, is he at least like doing well in solo queue or whatever. So this shows these dates. You open it up, I look at since all the way back to here, and it's like peaked 900 GM, and then it's mostly stayed at 800 GM. Okay, not the worst. Like, what does he play? Renekton, Aatrox, Asante. He basically plays mostly bruisers. Okay, mostly bruisers. And does that line up with oh, this is not what I wanted to do. Here we go. So you could look them. So I did say I like looking up their champ pools on gold.gg. Oh, whoops. But I will admit, because like you're already on this like page, right? The score lines are not bad, right? But again, it's like the second division, so and you're an experienced individual, so I expect you to do better. Generally better. Look on stats. You just look at combined stats, right? It's okay. Like it can be easier to do it on Leaguepedia because you're already on it. But if you want to open this up, this works too. And I mean, like I see like some Camille, some Gwen. I assume this is like when these are the most prevalent Aatrox. Like Champool's like okay, nothing crazy, but he's been stuck in Division 2. So all in all, like if it was me, I'd be like, don't care really. Like that, I don't really have much interest. But I'm gonna keep him on the side for now, right? I'm gonna keep him on the side. Eugean. So he's been playing for not too long. Okay. Can't find a solo queue account. So the next thing we can do is go to Deep Lol. DW. Do they have him? That's not him. There's no way that's him. So it looks like I can't find information on his solo queue account unless it's posted here. Right? If I click on here, LVP second division, placements are like okay. Failed. Click on his match history. He has a Fiora game. I mean, you would check that first and foremost. So if you look, so he's played some tanks, but by some I mean like one. Because K'Sante, I don't count K'Sante as a true tank. So it's not something you would really actively look at. So you may look at a few tank games, because like he has shown to actually at least play it, which is always good to have on the side. And of course, you'd be really interested on the carry picks he plays. So if I look at stats, again, just look at the career. 100% win rate on Fiora by his name, right? And sometimes, you know, your team doesn't do the best, but you can still be an exceptional player to get interest from, right? So I just want to see if this shows. No, they don't have webcams or anything. It's all online. Okay. So I won't even get the best idea through that. But in the end, it's like, okay, slightly interesting, you know. And so in that case, like if that person interests you for whatever reason, you know, you'd put his name down. I don't know his age. Like I'd probably say like you probably just do something like this, right? It is about, yeah, it's under 2 years. I could even say under 1.5 years, right? But you don't really have much other information on that. And so like one thing I like doing, which I include here, is you use stars or markers to note something interesting about the player. So in this case, like I'm putting it in yellow because it's there's like a couple options I have. Like there's green, there's yellow, there's red, there's blue. Yellow's like, honestly, I probably put blue. So Yellow just means like he's like you're in like the middle ground, like it's in between good and bad, right? Like neutral. Green is obviously good, like you're gonna look at him no matter what. Red, it's like just skip him, don't care. Blue, it's like there's something interesting there, but you're not like 100% sold, so it needs more investigation. And so like I'll just do that for him, right? So get rid of that, get rid of that. Icebreaker, okay, he's 24. Tons of experience. Check his solo queue. Like you always just want to see if the guy's a grinder or something like that. 300 games, right? Not bad. Okay, so he has 2 accounts, plays a decent amount. Kennen, Renekton, Rumble, Scion, Cho'Gath, Aatrox, Ornn. So his best carry pick. So he plays AP picks with some bruisers. Basically what I'm getting at. He plays AP picks with some bruisers. Is this account any different? Does he play different stuff? Nope, plays the same shit. Okay, look at his thing. Did he ever hit Challenger or anything like that? Nope, never hit Challenger. Okay, so 24, can't hit Challenger. Look at the stats, the career. Plays a ton. I mean, it mostly aligns to what we said. It's basically AP picks and then some bruisers, which is fine, but like you will miss out on certain things. So he has a very distinct purpose. Okay, and then how has his success been? You know, he won. Like, no, it's not playoffs. So he came second in playoffs and they got swept. But it seems his history from this past year is not half bad. Oh, so he wins. So he won here, but like, it's not the worst. The history is actually not the worst. So, based on this, did I actually just exit out of him? Perfect. What was his name? Icebreaker. So based on what I've seen from Icebreaker, do I think he holds interest as like a prospect? Probably not. But you know, you'd probably put down like something in the yellow, like that, like wins in low leagues, and probably a weak sider. Like I mean, like you probably put something like this, right? Very simple. And also, if you want to even do this more, like you can organize it this way. Oops. I just have to remember my key bindings. So you don't have to repeat yourself on certain things. Like I don't need to say he's a vet, right? Like I can just say it this way and just leave it at that. And so now this kind of keeps it a little bit more organized. So for instance, like this guy, like Ling Wei, like I probably put him here and I just put like a red, right? Like I just don't care, right? So that's Icebreaker F22. Okay, age is fine. Team experience looks like to be about 2 years. I don't know why I'm checking his Twitter. I'm most just curious. Okay, check his solo queue. Low amount of games. He has 1 account on here, and he doesn't really grind. Peaked GM 980. And then after a certain point, he kind of just stopped playing. Plays for Renekton. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. So now this makes me curious. What did this... Oof. Not my favorite. Not my favorite. Okay. So... I'm not the biggest fan of his picks, and I open this up more, and it's like, no ideal performances. The best I have is here. Don't really know these guys. Failed. Oh, he qualified, but then they did really bad. Numb. I don't know anything about that guy. They say that name doesn't register to me. But based on what I'm seeing here, not a grinder. Plays weird picks. And technically he would fall under Because he hasn't been playing long. 2020. But these are like random tournaments. These are just like qualifiers. It's still like around 2 years, but I mean, I don't really think people can necessarily be a vet per se in like the same sake as these guys. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put additional. I'm just gonna put him. I'm just gonna put a red. There's nothing else I need to really know about him. Okay. Calum, 19. Okay, so young guy. He's played on like two plus years it seems. So he's been playing since he's been pretty young. Seems like he's not on a team maybe. Though I saw a contract thing. Here, let me also move this here so then when it's like this, you can see this still. Okay, so he's a grinder. He plays mostly on one account. More data required. Let me open this. He's hit challenger. He's not bad, okay. And he plays Fiora, Camille, Malphite, which is surprising to see so much Malphite played, but Jax, the champ picks are very ideal. Okay, so the champ picks are very ideal. That looks pretty good. One rule I'll say for top laners is if your top laner is actively practicing tanks in solo queue, while it's fine, ideally you should be practicing carry picks or things that are at least going to test your like mechanics and decision making more, especially for laning wise. Mostly because in the end, tanks aren't like mechanically difficult. It's more so just the mindset and mentality you need to have when playing a tank that you have to adjust to. So I mean, like playing it in solo queue is fine. It's just like don't make that your primary picks, like your list as a pro player. That won't really reflect as well. So in this case, okay, this is relatively interesting to me. If I look at his stats, career, ton of Gangplank, interesting. Ton of Ornn, also interesting. So again, this kind of proves that while he plays carry picks, he clearly is willing to play the tanks involved in pro play, right? If I go to overview and then I go to team history. So he's played Misfits Community Clash. That is so old. So I'm not really going to count that, especially because as you notice his name changed and he did this when he was really young. EBL, pretty... I definitely recognize some of these names. Interesting. Not half bad. Played in LLC. Group A. Didn't go the best. LFL Division 2. Didn't have a great run. NLC Summer. Didn't have a great run. So he's had like a few opportunities, it seems, and then he's back to the second division of LVP, which in the end, it didn't really turn out. Well, it turned out okay. It turned out okay. I mean, this name I recognize, the rest I don't really recognize. That's kind of interesting. And of course, you know, while you'll get a general feel for a lot of these guys, but if like you really want to be like even more specific, because you get, let's say like I click on season 13, you can look at like, oh, how is he doing? It's like, oh shit, that's not good. Like he's actively losing in like lane. And of course this could be a result of some other things too. So like don't make that like the primary like reasoning. I really hate that it doesn't say CS per minute when you look at this, by the way. I really do not like that. Another thing we can do is we can go to the force. No, we're getting there. Gotta do it one little bit at a time. There we go. Okay. So I click on top lane. I click on CS per minute. Oh, I don't. Oh shit! This is not saying. No, this is it. Okay. Calum. Doesn't show under here. That's weird. Because I have LVP SL, right? That's so weird. It's very weird. Oh well. I guess it's not going to be as useful as I wanted it to be. For some odd reason, I'm struggling to find the second division in this, but it's whatever. So, like, this stats not looking the prettiest. Obviously, the win rate's not the best. I probably would still put him down under here as, like, okay, this is, like, interesting. Like, 19, carry player, like, Chow plus, right? Probably put something like this. And then sometimes I do, like, a combination, right? Like, just kind of signify, like, oh, this could be, like, more interesting than I thought. Calum, get rid of that. Luca, 22. Check the solo queue. He's played for 2+ years. You click on here. Okay, 3. Okay, third places, second places. Because generally doesn't do half bad, honestly. Grinds the game, which is always appreciated. Peak rank was a challenger, so I assume he just hit challenger here, GM, and then kind of like bounced around there for a bit. If I look at his stats, career, a lot of Scion and Ornn. So he plays a lot of weak side shit. So he's a weak side player. That's the expectation I'm going with. And I'm like, it's okay. Ton of Aatrox Gragas. That is so weird. You don't see that. Like, people like playing Gragas this much, but he plays a ton of Gragas. Some Jax, but not to the most success. And Kled is like his like side pick. What's this guy's name? Luca. So you didn't really. Here, let me press Alt. I mean, he actively was winning in his lane, and he's playing bunch of weak side shit. Most success was with Gangplank and Gwen even. And he won with his Aatrox. Huh. So all in all, it's like this isn't half bad. 22, 1 year, like 2 years. I'll probably put him in like the middle, right? So like you put him here, and you put like a yellow, right? Like it's not bad. Rid of that. John Narna, something like that. 24, so he's a vet. Doesn't look like he's 3 months. I mean, like, maybe it's like this is like 3 years. Not as long as he expected. He grinds the game, which is always good. His peak's pretty terrible, so that's not always the best look. Shit ton of Rumble. Plays Jace. Surprising. Picks aren't the worst, actually. Yeah, picks aren't the worst. See about his team history. Okay, so he definitely played a lot of tournaments. Also, this is like real old school shit. Interesting. So he's done a lot of 4th place type situations. Obviously, there's like some things like this, but it's like not exactly the same. Yeah, I don't know. It seems like okay, but like I'm not like getting any like big feelings from looking at what I'm seeing. Open this up. Obviously, team is losing. Stats are like okay, honestly, for being on the losing side. Like his stats are actually better than that other kid, which probably proves like the fact that he's a veteran. He knows how to lose gracefully. I don't know. Like this seems like okay, like nothing crazy. Sometimes easier to just paste it this way. I probably just put like this, like a yellow, right? Could even just be a red yellow. Look at this guy, Manilo Gap. So don't know his age. Looks about under 2 years. Also, when you don't know their age, you can look on Twitter. Like the whole point of looking on Twitter is also to just gauge if you can get information that this just doesn't state. So you also might even look on Twitch, because sometimes people put down how old they are, and of course it's not always gonna be accurate, right? Like they could have put that down and never updated their information for like years, but it's like it gives you like something to like depend on, right? Or to look at. So look at this, don't really see anything, so that's not gonna be any useful for me. Again, not half bad. He grinds. Renekton, Jax, Olaf, Rumble. Sante Viego. That's kind of weird. Is it like... Oh, what the fuck? Wait. Hold on. Oh, that's super interesting. Is this true? Is this really his? I mean, assuming this account is true, open this up. So you peak challenger. Peak challenger. When was that? He peaked challenger in the beginning of the season. Oh, that's way. I can't go that far back. Does he actively play jungle on this account? Like, is that a thing he just likes doing? Because the reason why I find this interesting in many ways is if you play jungle, like it gives you a really good perspective on like how the game could be played out. So to me, that's already like pretty interesting. So he's been playing for 2021, so like 2 years, right? Success has been, so he played a ton of tournaments, like a lot of tournaments. It is really just a lot of tournaments. And then like his team has not had the most success, it seems, when he's playing in the LVP. Let's look him up. He mostly kept it even. A lot of Cassante. Seems like he played a lot of weak side picks. Didn't really play strong side at all. I mean, it's like okay. So for me, it's like, like, could this guy be like? He's clearly hasn't gained enough interest from first division people to like get that chance. And who knows? Like, but to me, it's like if I put this in additionals, like for me, I would do this and oh god, where's it? This, because if you're looking through like this region, like it's just the idea that he played jungle so much and actually got like a good ranking as jungle, and then he plays top lane. You know, and there was a world that he could make a swap to jungle if he does well enough, right? So that's interesting. We go to Ray. Look, I want to be honest. I'm gonna be real honest. I know it's like, really, like you're just gonna put him down with like red, but like already looking at this, I hope he has another account, because if he doesn't, he didn't grind the game at all. Also Ray is like an old talent that at this point I'd rather just go with someone else. And yeah, like sometimes you're gonna make decisions like this, and maybe he has a really good like split. So in this case, you know, if I look at this, it's like, oh shit, he won. Like he literally just won with his team, right? And maybe that's like enough. TCL, LLA, fourth place. Like, I guess it really depends in the end. Do you know what I mean? Like, because his performances have probably been fine. Like, if I look up Ray on here, like, I'll say for sure, dude, can I? Oh, here we go. So I look at this. I mean, it looks like he's just crushing this league, by the way. Like, how would I put this? I can't really put red, I guess, in the end, even though in my heart, it's like, as a prospect, I'm never picking him up, right? Like, it's just, like, he can crush people in the second division of SL, great. Like, I hope to God he can crush people in the second division of SL, right? There's nothing surprising there. It's whether he can do that in the ER1s, which, you know, if he does well in the second division, then maybe you can give him a chance in the first division. If you're just looking for a guy to hold down the fort, right? And in that case, like, maybe you do this, right? But it's just like, I mean, he's known that carry player, crushed second division, right? Like, you could say these things, but you won't pick him up as a prospect. I don't think he has the heart in it anyways. Based on his solo queue, I'm assuming that is his solo queue. He does not have the heart for it. Westlander, 2 years, about 2 years. Look at his solo queue, look at his stats, career. Camille, Gwen, Jack. So he plays carries. Has terrible success on NAR, which is pretty common. Okay, so he grinds the game a bit. So that's always a good sign. It looks like he hit Challenger not too long ago. Okay, so he hit Challenger recently on this account. And then on this account, he did also hit Challenger as well, which is always a good sign. It looks like this is reflective towards his champ pool and competitive. Yup, it is. So he plays mostly carries, which is always a good thing. If I look at this, yes. And then what's his name? Westlander SE 1613 2.1, not half bad, pretty good. Of course, his team is winning, so you know you also take that into fact. Like, if your team is winning, most likely your stats will probably be padded a bit. But he's playing carry picks, so that's always interesting. A lot of AP players in this league, huh? And if we look at team history, click here. Actually, hasn't been playing that long. So he played in the second division of the German league a while back. Hit or miss. I know these guys? No. Then he went back into it. Then he did a winter showdown. Then he got into the LFL Division 2, where they did decent. Then he did terrible. And then he did okay. So this would be the year, like, you would just have to evaluate him. Westlander, I guess you'd put him under prospects technically. I don't know what his age is. 20. Okay, so he's 20, which is not half bad. Carry player, child plus, just like Calum. This probably would be the same thing where I'd put like this and, oh god, this, because like I'll be like a little hesitant on knowing exactly where he should be placed, but in the end, honestly, not half bad. I could put green as well, technically. Honestly, for how I'm doing this, I probably should. So we'll probably keep it like this way, just because like I'm curious. No one's like a standout like holy shit. But that would be top lane for this group. Okay, so that's like covering top lane, and so you're basically gonna do this with all the roles. And so to give an example of like what you kind of want to be aiming for in the end. So these are some examples I have. So I did a outlook on players going into 2023. So this was like in like the off season, right? And so these are all guys that I was like just trying to figure out, right? And so naturally you're gonna see guys like Imperios, like PGN, right? I put WoW, I put Banderas, I put Obelisk. I did watch these guys in the end, and I was like, doesn't really matter. But Different, Slayer, Mantner, like, you know, you might put like a highlight because like you're like, oh, like this guy, like, in this case, this was from multiple regions, right? So I was looking at multiple Division 2 regions, and you know, like what you had, you know, a couple years, Child Plus, and like he's winning a lot. That's always super interesting, right? I put a Dusto 17 LFL2 Jace player question mark. That's basically my version of like the blue mark, right? And that, I mean, that guy is playing in ERL 1 now, which is amazing. And same with Mantner now too for KC. So like these two guys did end up going up, but you know, you just have to be very specific on what you're looking at. You know, you look at Jungle, Icarus, Bukata. I mean, that guy ended up promoting. What do I have? Mid 610. Like in some guys you're gonna know about like from previous years. So like 610 has had some good experience anyways. But you're gonna throw them down anyways just because you're like out of sheer interest. And like I said, your notes are just gonna really depend. Like your notes are gonna be either like typically you're probably gonna mention like their age because you just want to remember like, oh, like how old is this guy? Like is this guy like really old? Whatever. In this case, I didn't really separate this by vets and how do I say this? I didn't separate this necessarily by vets and prospects. I kind of have it all mixed in, but these were just the players I was mostly interested in. You know, I look at ADC and it's like I remembered Antonov because I actually looked at him, so naturally like I just kind of put him down because I was just super interested in him anyways. And then you throw some other guys down there, and then you look at support and the same thing. It's like, okay, you know, I think I don't remember if Murdos promoted or not, but regardless, you know, you have these guys on here, and then you open up another thing. What was this one? So this was like after looking over. This was after looking over all these players, and I kind of just made a short list on where did I like the talent going into like, because to be honest, there are specific roles that regions are good at. Actually, like I typically try to find, like if you look at Brazil, you will find certain ADC players that are like legitimately like interesting. And so you just kind of keep that, like that's why I put this on like BA young talent. Like I actually put it down here. BCS, they have some guys too. And of course, mostly LCK laws can be placed in every single one because again, it's Korea and they do have a lot of really interesting players. But again, you might see some like other regions. Obviously, LFL is another big one that has like players that you actively are kind of like eyeing, but they're not going to obviously be in every single role either. And then this one, this here is in like kind of like what I'm doing here in some ways, but again, you kind of scope it out a little bit differently. So like this was top lane, right? It's been a hot minute since I've done NP versus OP. I don't even remember what I put an NP for. It's been a hot minute. It's been a hot minute. I actually don't remember exactly. But regardless, however you like do this, these are like the guys that you're gonna get in the tier 1 region. This is not like tier 2, this is like tier 1 that you have interest in. So like Halvey, Melanic, you know, La, Kyo, like maybe like I'm interested in Papitiro. And like this guy actually could be good. He actually could have been good, but I think some things like hold him back on his own. Same with these guys. These guys, you know, you just keep going down the list. And again, the end part is just showing like it's just organizing it all your thoughts in a way so that when you go into the season you can look back at this and say to yourself, okay, so leading into the season I thought this guy was gonna be good, he ended up being good. So since I had that like that thought process built in before, and then I also had that still coming after it, that's definitely interesting enough to actually approach him and like keep this going, right? And of course, there might be guys that you miss, and you say to yourself, okay, well, why did I miss them? Like, is there a certain like way I need to like readjust this, right? And so that's kind of how you go about this. And like I would do more of these like players in the end, like looking through the like each part, like whether like they're a veteran, a prospect, whatever, like it doesn't need to be exactly this either. Keep that in mind. Like you can easily make this about, you know, you could like organize this in a way to be like enabling jungler, you know, like enabling carry. Like it's up to you on how you want to like go about this. I typically put that information here on the right side, and like, you know, I'll just look back and I'll look at, okay, like who are the good guys, like whatever, like who are the guys where I'm like not 100% sure, right? And you just play off that. But this is like the best like simple example I can give from doing a like standard overview of like a league you don't know. And of course, you know, I'm explaining things, but ideally I would be going through this a lot faster than what I'm doing. Like if I'm going through Westline, I'm looking at his solo queue, I'm seeing he's grinding, he's playing carry picks, he's channel plus, doesn't have too many years on him. And like that alone, I'm just gonna put him down. I'm gonna put no idea and maybe a green light, and then I'm just gonna move on to the next guy. Like the whole point of this is just get a quick overview. You're not trying to spend countless hours to digest a player unless they're that interesting. Okay, I just want to make that clear. Unless they are that interesting, in which case you might do that. Like for instance, like a player like Howling. For a guy like this, you know, he came from Korea, right? He played in the LCK CLOL region. Like, I mean, yeah, I guess I could just say region league. And so like I was curious, like how well did he do there? And it's like, okay, he did like okay, like nothing crazy, but I want to know just like from a standard view, because he could actually be really interesting. What did those games look like? So at least like I watch them and then I'll have a base level of knowing that. And I've done that before for even guys like Avra, where like I looked back at like some one-off like the French tournament that they do in the off season, to just see, okay, how good was he in that? Did he like really showcase that? And that's why he got into a tier 1 team. And you just write down like the nice things you liked about him, and you just move on, right? Like that is just the approach you have to take when it comes to scouting and just understanding each league that you want to look at. And hopefully, you know, this video will give you at least some ideas on how you would go about your own league scouting, and just kind of starting like that foundation, that base of knowledge that you need to have before diving in. Because like I said, if you just start watching like VODs straight up without really knowing the players or like looking over all the players or anything like that, you're gonna have to backtrack doing this same work still, because there might be a player that pops up that like, oh well, he did a cool play, and you look at him, you look at his team history, all these things, and you might be like, oh well, whatever. Like at least this will give you that compass to follow. So thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you subscribe and like, and until next time.